High cigarette taxes may lead to more revenue, but it will not decrease the amount of people who smoke. The battle of having a smoke-free America has gone on for many years with no current end in sight. As with any topic that plagues America, the government always tries to step in and regulate the matter. The government has now rolled out one of the largest tax increases on cigarettes in the history of America. According to most public commentaries, this tax increase does nothing to necessarily deter citizens from smoking. It goes on to state that this is nothing more than a display of government greed by getting in on the revenue that cigarette taxes bring to each state. Is there any sufficient evidence of the tax increase on cigarettes working in the past to prevent people from smoking? Although the taxes on cigarettes have been in place for a long time, the percentage of the increase has never taken such a dramatic spike. The media has done very well in covering the public's views of the tax increase. Until recently, many smokers and non-smokers paid little attention to the tax because it hardly ever increased the pack of cigarettes by more than a few cents. However, the government getting their cut out of the deal, it is now the new roaring topic of discussion. In the 1980s, in the 1990s, and now in the 2000s, the government has always looked to cigarettes taxes for an additional source of revenue. Cigarette taxes cannot make up for poor budget planning and spending on the behalf of the government. To be fair, the citizens and the government may need to look at using some of the additional monies raised to fund programs to help smokers quit. The first controversy over the topic is how the tax does little to nothing on encouraging people to stop smoking. According to Michael Siegel in paragraph 12, this idea is nothing more of a display of public greed on the government's behalf. It goes on to point out that the tax increase is pointless to the working class adult. Most adults who work can afford to buy a pack of cigarettes if they want it bad enough. The idea is that raising the price on a product does not cure the addiction most people have to nicotine. The stress of having to pay more cigarettes increases the average smoker's crave for nicotine. Although some people may be turned off by the new price increase, it will not do much to help them kick the habit without some type of support. Is this just a further plot by the government to raise stress levels of smokers and pull in the maximum amount of revenue off the sales of cigarette and tobacco products? The next argument is how the attempts to raise tobacco tax in the past have failed to yield any positive results as it relates to smokers actually quitting. Arthur Ann Landman describes how the tax hike has never worked for the sake of helping people quit before. This view is strongly supported by the tobacco industry, who along with Landman points out the negative impact it will have on the market. She suggests that it will raise crime as it pertains to smuggling goods and selling cigarettes in the black market versus the mainstream of retail. The negative domino effect will cause the tobacco industry to lose money. This will then lead to them having to downsize and lay off employees. The addition of unemployed people in the workforce will then add the amount of people in need of government assistance. This would in turn have not added any additional revenue to the government, but instead moved money from one budget to another. The tobacco industry is now has to rely heavily on the marketing technique of wanting what you should not have. This point brings up the next issue at hand, which is a higher demand on tobacco when the cost goes up. Although the price increase may impact the amount of teenagers who participate in underage smoking due to lack of money, it still will not prove to have that much impact on legal age adults who smoke. Instead, many people will start stocking up on their supply of cigarettes when they catch them at a good price. That idea will encourage the smoker to engage in the activity even more due to them having more cigarettes than normal in their possession. The situation only proves that the tax does not do what it was mostly put in place for. What politicians do not realize is that smokers most commonly have worse health than non-smokers, and that is why they already on an average pay 25 to 30% more for health care than everyone else in the U.S. The higher prices on cigarettes and health care have never stopped people from smoking before and will likely do little to control it now. The tax hike only drives this portion of the American economy further down the drain. Most of the smokers will now take money out of their budget for other things to support their habit. As more states move towards the tax increase, there is not a sigh of relief in sight for smokers. In actuality, there is no sign of the government ever backing off this tax increase. Throughout the years, taxes have been raised on many goods across the United States of America. It is a hope that one day some more logical method is used to stop people from smoking. It is also a hope that there is a real tax cap put in place so that the government will not take one industry's success and capitalize off of it for their own selfish use or shortcoming. In reality, the government should find a better way to pull in more revenue. Finally, after years of tax increases, the government should also put real health initiatives in place to support people who are willing to stop since they are gaining something out of the tax hike deal. Someday this country will be majority smoke-free, and it will have not had anything to do with the tax increase. It will be the response of a nation wanting better health for themselves and the ones around them.